He really, really wants this tournament. He's got so few opportunities, or if any, before the military. And he really wants to go out with a bang.
It's kind of crazy. The pool this fast is obviously telling us Serral right away wants to have an initiation. Oh my God, it's a gate. Okay, these guys are both trying to kind of go for a sucker punch builds here. And so this is one of these weird moments where this is not what they're doing is not going to work out the way it's supposed to because of this. He sees the Lings immediately. Now, I guess Classic should be okay.
Well, I mean, luckily he has a Forge finishing up so he can make a cannon back at home, but you don't really need to. You can still get that Zealot up. What this is meant to do is it's meant to try and grab the pylon on the low ground and depower that and go for a quick win, because normally Protoss wall in down there. But Classic, because of his build choice, Serral's actually not probably going to get too much done here with this build.
Yeah, the Zealot is going to pop out now. Block this off. And again, you know, when you're Serral, you're obviously not anticipating this build coming here from Classic, right?
No, I mean...
So both these guys ended up trying to go for some pretty quick wins here, and now we're in a very awkward position for this PVZ.
It is a very awkward start here, but as the dust settles, it's like neither player actually has scuffled or really taken any damage. Both of them delayed their economies for a bit of early units for a little bit of pressure, and it just didn't really happen. Looks like Classic actually didn't let the Forge finish, so he just, right after he realized that he wasn't going to be able to get the job done with the cannon rush, you know, the early Lings.
Yeah, the Forge has no utility. It's not a Brood War game, so you don't need that. The cannon's right there at the natural expansion here. Okay, so the Stargate is now coming into play here. And I think we're going to have to see Serral drone up for a little while longer here. He might want to use the Zealots and the Adept to maybe try to come out here and put some pressure on.
Yeah, honestly, a couple early game Zealots is really quite annoying. They're not really a problem. Like, the Zerglings aren't a massive problem for the Zealots until they have speed when they get those big surrounds, or if they're on creep, of course. So just sending out a couple Zealots, especially with the Adept, can be, you know, surprisingly effective. But it would be a massive shock if this did, you know, serious damage to Serral, of course.
Yeah, I think this is almost one of these moments where you just take what you have and try to use it in any way that you can to do something here. And so that Adept is going to go ahead and shade into the main here, canceling. He'll probably do that one more time to come in here and check. And from here, we're actually going to have Phoenixes masked up.
Yeah. So this is a good start for Classic to shut down the Overlords on the side of your map. He can actually, you know, once he shuts down the Overlord vision, go for something that we saw Trap try and do, Stats try and do against Serral, which is the triple Oracle thing, which has been sort of the follow-up. Whenever I see a Phoenix first now in PvZ, I'm like, oh, there's going to be 3 more Oracles after that. But, of course, that's not always the case. These Zealots are so weird. They walk across the map, they're like, nah, it's too much Zerg, and then they just come out home. They're not too useful right now, unfortunately, but...
the Zealots really can't do anything until they have the charge upgrade, basically. I mean, he was forced to get those because the Lings were coming out here. So one of the things that's kind of cool about the game that we have here now is that these guys are really having to intuit how to navigate a game like this.
Yeah.
Because the opening builds basically were bunk on both sides, right? Both of them were trying to get a quick win here. Because they both went for aggression, they ended up canceling each other out, and so now we're seeing them try to transition, try to get this to transpose into some kind of a normal macro game.
Yeah, it's a cute little bamboozle, trying to play against the map's image. You know, this is the big map, and everyone just thinks, oh, they're just going to expand. You know, they're going to play macro, but then you go for a 12 pull, and you just try and upset the plan there and go for a quick win. So I love that Serral's actually showing this kind of stuff, though, in the series, you know, and Classic as well. This means that this could potentially be, you know, while Game 1's certainly normalizing, it could be some really weird, wonky strats in the other few games.
Yeah. Robo on the way now. I like the idea of going for the Stargate, getting the Phoenixes out, getting the Oracles out. You're not going to get any harass on ground here, right? Zerg is just going to match you, and you're both going to be in a bit of an awkward spot, but you absolutely...
Oh, whoa! Oh, getting an Adept here would be very nice, actually.
Yeah, actually getting one right there. Going for the Stargate, though, you absolutely can come in there and not just try to harass workers, but get some scouting off and try to figure out what's going on. And by the way, Classic fully intending, just due to the nature of this map, and that it incentivizes you to take 3 bases right away. He's taken those 3 bases, and now he's teching up at a very, very rapid pace. And he can do that, I think, pretty effectively because there are, you know, Stargate units that are able to scout. So if anything looks too fishy, it's going to be pretty easy for Classic to adjust and defend everything. Which is why so many Protosses open with Stargate only in this matchup for so long, Tasteless. That these two Oracles going into Archon drop by the looks of things for Classic is basically vanilla PvZ here. The Oracles going into the main base, finding 5 drones and escaping with their lives. Nice stuff from Classic, good bit of damage. Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of play he needs to have here. one goes down.
Unfortunate there.
The difference between one Oracle and two cannot be emphasized enough. So the harass will probably, well, there probably actually just won't be any harass for a while now.
Yeah, it's like technically it's only 2 of them, but it's like, you know, it's only double the amount of Oracles, but if they one-shot drones, which feels just way more scary because they tear through the mineral line so much quicker.
Yeah, you can literally kill twice the number of drones with 2 Oracles present.
So, Overseer coming in for a little bit of a look. Sees that Classic has actually, he does have a 3rd Nexus, which means that, you know, very likely Classic isn't going for any kind of big all-in. But Serral may not have complete information on what the actual follow-up is here from Classic. Like, he may not know that there is, in particular, you know, he's probably assuming a Prism play, but is there going to be Archons? Is it meant to be charge lots? Or is, you know, what kind of attacks come in? Is there Immortals? That's what he's really looking for here.
The fact that this 3rd base is kicked in so well here makes me a little bit worried here for Serral. I know that we've seen Serral kind of bounce back from almost anything, but on paper, this growth rate is actually looking pretty scary for Protoss. I know that the supplies are pretty even, but the tech is basically done for the Protoss, for what he really needs, right? Now he's just making lots of Archons, lots of Immortals, and he's going to be able to really start to put the pressure on here.
So Classic's actually gearing up for that Archon drop, as we can see, but he also has a small contingent of gateway units here. Serral's Lings run straight past him, so I mean, he knows,
awkward.
Yeah, he knows all about him. All those drones once again. Oracles just keep finding damage against Serral. I don't know what it is. He does have Spore Crawlers and he does have Queens, but they keep getting shut down.
Whoa, great Archon drop coming here. Already 13 workers killed off.
Quite a bit of early game damage here done by Classic, and the Prism is still alive, and he scouts the Spire with it as well, so he goes for that recall. So this is great information for Classic. He starts Phoenix production immediately, and as long as he has time to Chrono Boost a couple of those out, very unlikely to take much damage from the Mutalisks. In fact, Serral, I was going to say may switch out of them, but he's getting +1 attack, which means he definitely wants them.
All right, we've got the point in time where I think it's probably going to be time to push out here. Oh, these Lings are just going to be able to come right in. I might be able to get that with the Archons coming here.
Certainly does. I actually really like this game from Classic so far. He's really hit a power spike on 3 bases.
Yeah.
He's got +2 attack on the way here. Storm's on the way. He's got his Stargate production on the way just in case Mutalisks pop out for Serral. And his army's going to be very, very anti-Roach tasteless. He's been making nothing but Immortals on these robotics facilities for a while.
I feel like on some level Serral was kind of forced into attacking into the Roach Ravager. If this attack does come, what we want to watch for is whether or not Classic can keep the Warp Prism alive. By the way, he's probably one of the best at that in the entire world. He's been very good at not losing that. But basically, you want the Ravagers to try to gun down the Warp Prism as it is in that warp-in mode and see if you can curb the rush that way.
Well, Phoenix is flying over these Ravagers, and it's an easy target for these Oracles to try and pick up the Ravager, but the Roaches take a little bit longer. The Ravagers are a little bit squishier. So nice move there from Classic, and Serral is making about a dozen Mutalisks, but he's making some Corruptors as well. So it looks like he may want to go on a Hive quickly here. Normally when I see the Infestation Pit, I'm thinking, oh, you know, Swarm Hosts maybe, Infestors. No, I think this actually might be a quick Hive from Serral. The Corruptor count really is not useful until, you know, they get to turn into Broodlords here, because there's nothing that really flies for Classic. Yeah, right. they can Caustic Spray down a structure, maybe, sure, but other than that, they're quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean, he might be just trying to absolutely guarantee that he can get rid of that Warp Prism. Also, I think with the Caustic Spray, you're making a very good point, Maynard, is that a lot of times, if you win a big fight, those Corruptors can then immediately go across the map and Caustic Spray down a new Nexus.
And with the melee upgrades on the way, that is going to help out the Broodlings in the future, as well as these Lings, which Serral's making. It's really switching over to an Air and Ling force. It's such a weird composition for Serral. I mean, yeah, the Corruptors will definitely trade well against the Phoenixes. In come those Mutalisks, and they are just getting rid of the static defense here. The Corruptors keeping the Mutalisks safe against the Phoenixes as well. So this composition of Serral starting to make a bit more sense here.
Okay, a lot more mutas are going to be coming out here, and this is going to be, for the time being, Serral kind of locked into this very wonky tech. There's a lot of tactical techniques you can use when you're going for mass mutas here. Okay, those storms were actually not bad at all.
They weren't, but he managed to pick off a couple High Templar with the Mutalisks.
He's got to be careful. Yeah, one or two Archon hits, and those are just going to be vaporized. So he's continuing to make Ling muta, and he's going to have Banelings ready very soon here as the Banelings nest finishes. And he's hoping he can get Protoss a little bit off balance here with the unit composition they have. I mean, keep in mind, the Stargate unit set, the Phoenixes, it's actually a pretty meager amount. It's not really equipped to deal with this many Corruptors and Mutalisks.
Absolutely not. Ooh, Serral getting an Archon there with the Mutalisks and a couple Phoenixes going down the Corruptors. This feels like very early heart of the Swarm, Tasteless. I haven't seen Muta Corruptor in so long against Protoss.
I think this is such an intelligent approach here by Serral, because you can see Classic went for a pretty conventional PvZ army, and now this is a very difficult thing to deal with. I mean, he's able to kind of fight the ground, but the air units reign supreme.
Yeah, anything but conventional here. That Nexus is D-E-A-D.
This is so sick. Look at this.
Yeah, that's an easy pick
up
up there.
Easy.
He does. I mean, Classic still has, you know, a powerful army, but it just doesn't feel like compositionally it's the right thing here, and it's hard to call. Like, oh, I didn't expect 15 Corruptors with a bunch of Mutalisks. It's not quite that many, but I'm embellishing here. And the Great Aspire is on the way, so those Corruptors are about to become Broodlords.
And this is such a beautiful transition. He gets the 4th base. Obviously, the Muta Corruptor is eventually going to not have the same kind of utility, so then he can transition this into a very, very safe setup. I don't know if he's actually going to plan on pushing right away with this, but if he wants, we could just go back at home and defend all of the new bases he has. And he has, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 bases.
Yeah, I mean, Classic hasn't been able to be on Serral's side of the map for quite a while. He had a Prism out there. 5. Seeing double, it's 11 p.m.
Sorry, it's been casting for a long time today.
So Anion Pulse Crystals is coming down for those Phoenixes from the Fleet Beacon, but it feels like something a little bit more convincing than that needs to come out for Classic. But it's so tough to make the right call. You know, do you go for Tempest here? Do you rely more on Phoenixes? Is the Corruptors more of a threat? Are the Mutas more of a threat? Is the Ground Army more of a threat? Classic needs to make the right decision and massage his composition accordingly, but it's just so hard.
Okay, there's enough gas that if Serral wants to, he can make just ridiculous amounts of Banelings here. Now, I'm a little bit shocked by that.
Yeah,
that was about as worse of an exchange as you could possibly ever have.
Serral has, what Serral basically did was put a cigar in his mouth and light it on fire with a $100 note, because he's that rich.
He lit it with 100 Banelings.
With 100 Banelings. He just lit his cigar. Yeah. So, because he has money to burn. Classic does not. Classic is going hand to mouth here with his money. He actually does not have a bank. He's not been able to get that 4th base. Serral keeps shutting it down, picking up a few units here, which is nice, spinning out the Ground Army.
It would seem to me the game plan for Serral should be to just make sure that Classic stays on 3 bases for as long as possible, and the game will solve itself. Now we have Classic pushing out. We've seen a lot of Zerg units killed off. However, there's already a maxed out Zerg supply, so a lot is being remade here. Those Broodlords are done.
I would just adore it for Classic to be able to fight into these Broodlords and do anything about it, but I don't know if he can. Tasteless Phoenixes are not that great against Broods. They are heavily armored, and there is a wall of Spine Crawlers as well. Classic sees this. He's like, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. This is going to be a tough one. His Ground Army already being pushed back.
Okay, another attack out here. And this is the moment where it's going to become problematic. Okay, really good storms, by the way, there.
Decent storms, but the Corruptors can deal with some bad weather.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because what Zerg's going to try to do is actually tip the scale back onto the Classic side of the map. If he can push through here and actually kill off that 4th base, that's going to be huge. I do like Classic coming in here with this Zealot Harass, but
yeah, this is nice. He's got to do something to Serral, man. Like, you know, Serral's been unchecked on his side of the map for so long. Yeah. He just tried a ground attack, so the Prism play makes a ton of sense, even though there's a lot of air units. The Prism does get dealt with in the end, but I like that Classic tried to get a warp and a charge loss to hit the drone line of Serral. It just unfortunately didn't really change things too much. He's still down a little bit in supply, and his composition still leaves a little bit to be desired. I mean, look at it. It's like 6 Immortals, 2 Archons, 2 Tempests. I mean, you guys at home can count there. There's the unit tab. It just doesn't look convincing against what Serral has.
Yeah. Classic's barely now gotten this base up. We're having some probes get transferred over here, but you know, Classic sort of backed off. He's, in fact, I think this is just a smart move by Serral. He just comes in here and batters this base that obviously Classic almost over defending at that 4th base is neglected to really adequately cover the 3rd, and so Serral comes through there and wipes out a good number of probes. We don't see the Broodlord push happening yet.
No. You know why? Because Serral wants to end the game when he wants to end the game, Tasteless.
He's going to end it on his own terms, Maynard.
That's right.
I think you're absolutely right.
He's like, why go into an attack that I will likely win when I can go for one that I will very likely win, and that is going to be with Infestors. Once the Infestors are out here, they're going to make things a lot easier for Serral. He can start neuraling Archons, whatever he wants, maybe neuraling, you know, some Tempest or something like that, or even just using Fungal and a ton of Infested Terrans. They really have so much utility in the late game against Protoss. And Terran.
Look at this. Classic only mining gas at that 4th. He does not want to overmake workers here.
No.
He's very fine with just kind of tightening his belt, so to speak, in this game.
Times are tough here in Classicville, you know? Everyone's going to do a little bit of belt tightening. Can't get more than we need.
This is a funny moment because the Banelings came in to kill workers and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay, go to the next base. No, just keep going.
The Broodlords are waiting for their time to shine here. The Corrupted count getting thinned out a bit by these Tempests. Classic even making some Void Rays here, so it's desperate times.
Yeah.
The Void Ray definitely
Look
not
at the new Void Ray skin.
Oh, yeah.
That's straight up evil, man.
Yeah.
That looks like the other, normal Void Ray is like kind of evil doppelganger right there.
Oh, this Oracle gets a nice tag on the Infestors. The Tempest can start to get to work a little bit here. We have seen some Protosses go for like Disruptors to deal with Tempests, or rather with Infestors, but it's a little bit tough at this point for Classic to switch into that. And we do have some Fungals going down. What Serral really wants is some money Fungals and a ton of infested Terrans. And like I said, like Neurals, anything is a lot of utility on the
This is so good. He just sent about 6 Mutalisks over there because it's just enough to actually kill the cannon. And then he can start to kill the probes, and it's like going to cause more of a headache than possibly this entire giant push that's happening outside of a Serral's, one of his many bases here.
Yeah.
Like one of his 9 bases. I still can't count the bases in this game, Maynard.
He has a summer base in Valencia. He goes to vacation in the summer.
That's right, yeah.
This Air Army of Classic is just meeting a wall of Corruptors. Storm's trying to zone them back, and they are, but every time this happens, Classic is losing some of these expensive units. These Mutalisks are still unchecked on this side of the map.
I think the writing's on the wall, folks. By the way, Classic lost more supply trying to push in here. This is so sick.
Yeah, Serral's just playing patient, carefully, cleanly and efficiently. Really weird sort of mixture of air units for the Zerg, but he has got the composition that you really want in the late game here against the Protoss. Lots of Corruptors, lots of Infestors, and the Broodlords doing everything to the ground. And while Classic is trying his best, those Broodlords are just not being stopped.
Oh man, the Pride of Korea on the line here as it appears that we are at the beginning of the end. GG, we're at the end of the end.
We're
right
at
at
the
the
end.
end.